Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, whatever it is. Hey, you took the time to come over to the best Pelicans content channel in the entire game. Pelicans Daily, presented by Fan Arch. Welcome in, welcome in. Sorry, y'all got a little it's on my eye. Dylan Bruton here, your host. Hope all is well. Hope y'all are doing good. Let's jump right into it. Right into it. So, as y'all know, we don't really have many quote unquote untouchables. Arguably, Zion is the most untouchable player, given, you know what I'm saying, given his status, given what he's capable of, it makes sense. And Joe Dumars has been very adamant about it. But Trey Murphy, on the other hand, I'm hoping he's as untouchable as possible. I'm praying actively, like, please keep him on the team, please. But hey, folks got to get clicks, bills got to get paid. And an article just came out recently with Colin Keane of the Sporting News, and they're like an affiliate syndicate with the Nuggets, and a couple other publications have ran with this as a trade idea, but also given, and I talked about this a couple videos ago, the Nuggets in a way adding fuel, pouring gasoline on the fire. You know what I'm saying? They knew what they were doing when they posted that old video, but older video of Trey at the All-Star game saying that Jokic was the most talented player in the world. They knew what they was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you on Instagram and you want someone to see a particular story. You post just so specifically. You know what you're doing. And you're just waiting for that one person to view it. You're like, oh, I don't care about these other 100, 200, 300. I want that one person. I want them to see what they've been missing. Y'all know, fellas, you know too. You know what I'm saying? It ain't just the women. So, fellas, you know. So, the Nuggets knew what they was doing with that. They knew what they was doing with that. They thought that old Dill wasn't going to pick up game. Little do they know, I know ball. On and off the court. You know what I'm saying? Legend in 2 games, Pee Wee Kirkland style. All right? Anyway, so the Nuggets have been a potential talk about a possible Trey Murphy trade. It seems more and more like this is something that could potentially really take shape and happen. So we would trade Trey Murphy the third and Kelly Olynyk, which I'm not really with getting rid of Trey. Kelly, on the other hand, you know, there's plenty of 3-point shooting bigs out there. But I know he's a valuable locker room guy. So, you know, when thinking about the culture, okay. But play wise, we can find a Kelly Olynyk pretty easily. You're not finding too many Trey Murphys. You just not. Practically, I mean, I know he's from VA, but I'm saying as a player, right, we have watched him grow. He's like the Tupac poem, the rose that grew from concrete, come to life. We have watched him emerge and shine in the midst of dysfunction, in the midst of chaos, in the midst of just total I don't want to say malpractice. That's the wrong word. That might be jumping the gun a bit. But we have seen him develop in the midst of all the BS. That's really the nicest way to put it. That's been going on with the team, organization-wise, structurally. But this trade there seems to be more legs and life to it than I even want to co-sign, and I have to talk about it. I don't want to, but I have to. But we would get Michael Porter Jr., Peyton Watson, a 2031 first round pick, and a 2032 first round pick. My answer is no. And y'all have heard me talk about MPJ. You know what I'm saying? Same exact graduating year as me, 2017. Dude, the career that Jason Tatum has had is what I thought Michael Porter Jr. was going to be. And had it not been for that back injury, we would probably be having a whole lot of different conversations. But still a very good player. Averaged 18 a game, 7 boards, 2 assists. Shot 50% from the field, 40 from 3, 77 from free throw line. I mean, he's an incredibly talented scorer. Does not do too much else. I say that with no malice in my heart. I want to see Michael Porter Jr. become a star. I don't know if it's going to happen. He might just be in that, number 3, number 4 type of scorer on a championship team, right? Versus with Trey can, to me, I think is a high level number 2 on a championship team. 2 is better than 3 in that regard. So, personally, I'm not with this trade. I like Peyton Watson as well. Good, athletic, quick twitch defender. But and then you got the 2 first round picks, 2031, 2032. But it's also like, okay, like them are still kids, man. we got some time before we get there. I'm all for stacking up assets, but if we're gonna be making franchise altering trades, like trading, one of your best young homegrown, I keep saying homegrown, but one of your best young talented players you have watched develop. So I guess that's homegrown in that sense, right? Can we get a pick within the next 2 years? Next year, 2027? Like, they I'm not gonna go there. They still going through puberty damn near. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it real. So, yeah, my answer to that, no. My answer to that is a no. Now, these next 2 ones are a little bit more interesting. Not saying I agree with them, but they're more interesting than this one. So, Pelicans Sports Illustrated, Logan Struck wrote an article. This has not been the first publication to talk about this as a potential. There's been a couple other ones, but it's a very interesting trade. At no point am I saying I agree or that we should pull the trigger, but it's a very interesting trade. So, this is a 4-team trade involving Cat, Kevin Durant, a bunch of our guys, and PJ Tucker. Yeah. So, let me break it down. So, the crown jewel, us, right? We would get Cat. Cat last year averaged 24, 13, 3 assists, a steal, 53% from the field, 42 from 3, 83 from the free throw line. Playoffs, those numbers went down just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He was fighting injury. But he still averaged 21, 12, an assist, a block, and a steal. On 50%, on like 50% shooting, 35 from 3, 85 from the free throw line. And he was able to make an All-NBA second team. Now, the prospect of putting Cat next to Zion, next to Trey, that is something I can get sold on. But when you hear how much we have to give up, you're going to be like, nah. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of funny to look at Cat's career because, Cat is one of the best shooting big men ever. But I can't help, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks this. I think Cat is incredibly talented, but I can't help but feel like there's supposed to be more to Cat's game, right? Like, I expected him to be the number 1 guy. And when he was in Minnesota, he deferred a lot. That was one thing that I always had kind of that always grinded my gears with watching Cat. The talent, all there. Shot selection need work, right? Sometimes he plays a little too much like he's 6'5". Not the greatest defender, and at his size and his athleticism, he should be better, but he's okay, but he's nothing. You have to pair another big around him. You just have to. But yeah, he deferred to Wiggins, Levine, Jimmy Butler, and then later on, Ant Edwards. Like, I guess it works in our favor of like he gets to defer to Zion, but after that, nah. Need you to step up, my boy. Need you to really level up. So yeah, so it's like I don't know, man. Like I think Cat is incredibly talented, great shooter, soft touch. I saw him play uh, on the Dominican Republic team back in like 2013 or 14 when he was coming up out of high school out of Jersey. And I know some people who went to school with him. Like there's some 6 degree of separation. I think he's seems like a good guy. I think he would do well with us, but for how much that we would have to give up, not with it personally, right? Now the Knicks would get KD, which that would be pretty crazy to see KD up in the Garden. I can't lie, KD, with Brunson, that'd be ill. But now you don't have Cat. You just got JB. You got Mikal Bridges and OG already there. So who starts, who sits? So I just couldn't see the Knicks jumping forth in this trade either. Now, who ends up making it out really, really well is the Suns. Because the Suns would get DeJounte, they get Yves Missy, they get Kelly Olynyk, they get a first-round pick. They get a first-round pick from us. They get another first-round pick from us from Indy, which is a top 9 protected one. They would get, and those are both for 2026. Then they would get a 2028 first round pick swap from New York, and then they get a 2031 first round pick from Toronto that they acquired in the Brandon Ingram trade. Now, if you're the Suns, you're like, yeah, go through with this trade. We get to restart, but we also get we get enough pieces that we can at least be competitive with the guys on the roster. You know what I'm saying? You still got D-Book. You know what I'm saying? You add a healthy later on. Now granted, that's going to be the biggest question mark. That's the biggest question mark we're asking. But you add a healthy DeJounte into the mix. Then you throw a young, talented big in Eve. You throw a veteran big that can spread the floor in Kelly Olynyk. And then you add picks. That's the one thing that they don't really have. Okay. The Suns make it out well. Now, you know who makes it out terrible? I'll just for the sake of it. But the Wizards. They get PJ Tucker and a 2027 first round pick swap. There is no way in hell. No way. Not a chance. Ain't nan chance in the world. And nan like Trick Daddy, right? Ain't nan chance in the world that they go for that trade. Get PJ Tucker. You might as well don't even involve yourself in that trade. You might as well. So, should we trade for Cat? I don't think so. Personally, he would address certain needs as far as spacing, and he's not a horrible defender. But giving up all of that, I'm not with that. I mean, look at the Knicks. Like the Knicks last year gave up 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. 5. That to me still is ridiculous. I think Mikal Bridges is a talented player, but you give up 5 first-round picks for a player like Giannis. You don't give up no 5 first-round picks for a Mikal Bridges. Like what are we on? Leon Rose, James Dolan. What are y'all doing? Y'all ain't making no sense. And you know what also is not making sense? How many goddamn Zion articles about him being traded must I sit through and endure? And I'm over here enabling the problem by bringing it up. But how many more? How many more? I don't know if and I'm a Kyler Fox. If you watching this video, I take this with no disrespect. But if you do, it is what it is. But is you deaf, dumb, or blind, or all three, all of the above? What is it with everybody and this incessant need to trade Zion? We are not gonna trade Zion. Like, quote me on this video right now. We are not trading Zion. And if we do, I'm a call President Dumars myself. But if President Dumars, who is the man in charge, the man in the big seat. He's making these decisions about who stays and who goes, who's untouchable and who's touchable, and he's made it very clear that Zion ain't going nowhere. Why do y'all keep arguing against logic? Why? Is it because it's fun? Is it entertaining? I would love to know. The trade that they suggested, this one, again, interesting, but I don't see it happening and I don't want it to happen. But we would give up Zion. In exchange, we would get Nick Claxton, who is a big that I do like. Shout out to Class 17. Um, Averaged, 10 a game, 7 boards, 2 assists, almost 1.5 blocks, 56% field goal shooting, but 53% from the free throw line. So, you know what I'm saying? We already got a young big that can play at the basket, can play defense, and struggles with shooting and free throws and Eve Missy. So it's kind of overkill to get two. You know what I'm saying? And at this point of his career, I don't think Nick Claxton wants to come off the bench. You know what I'm saying? We would also get Cam Johnson, who I've talked about. You know what I'm saying? Cam this past year had his best year in the league, averaging nearly 19 a game. One of the best three-point shooters in the league. You could do a lot worse, but to have to lose Zion in the process, nah. But then we would get two first round picks of the Nets because the Nets have 4, but we would get their 19th pick and the 26th pick. Now, that's the only part where I'm actually interested. That's the only part. Looking at the history of the 19th pick, it's actually a pick that is pretty solid and pretty consistent. You know what I'm saying? Last year, Jacoby Walker was picked up by the Raptors. He had a all rookie second team level year. Could potentially be somebody who's a cornerstone for them later down the line. Brandon Podzinski in 2023, he's emerged as a starter. Sadiq Bey, now who's on the Wizards, he's a very talented 3-and-D that's been playing at a high level for a while. Kevin Herter, you know what I'm saying? I forgot what his nickname was. It's like the Red something, but the dude was a sniper with the Hawks, and he's been playing good basketball with the Kings. He was part of their resurgence, the Bulls. John Collins, 2017. John Collins was one of the best pick and pop players when he was in Atlanta playing next to Trae Young, and he's doing his thing in Utah right now. You know what I'm saying? They're figuring out who's going to be on their team, who's going to be part of their future, but Collins is still there producing. 2016, Malik Beasley, who had a crazy year this past year for the Pistons, has played for a lot of teams like the Nuggets, the Wolves, the Jazz, the Lakers, the Bucks, and now he's killing it with the Pistons, one of the best three-point shooters in the game. Another guy who's on the Pistons right now who's still playing good ball, but Tobias Harris, you know what I'm saying? Long career playing with the Bucks, playing with the Magic, the Pistons, the Clippers, the Sixers. I forgot. A guy like Gary Harris. Now, he's kind of fallen off a cliff, unfortunately. But, there was a time where he was a very respected, solid guard. Not an all-star, but solid guard. You know what I'm saying? And then you go even further back to 2010. Avery Bradley, very highly respected defender. You know what I'm saying? He was a lockdown menace with Boston. And then he went to LA, was able to play some big minutes for them. And I thought they were going to be able to utilize him a bit more. Then we got my favorite podcast out, 520, Club 520 with my guy Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague was a good point guard, was an all-star one year. You know what I'm saying? Consistent type of floor general. Going all the way back to 2004, I met him. Real cool dude. Darrell Wright. Darrell Wright was a good 3-and-D wing for those Warriors teams pre them, becoming the dynasty. And then going all the way back to 01, Zach Randolph, definitely the best pick at number 19. Zebo was a dog with the Blazers. He was a dog with the Knicks. He was a dog with the Grizzlies, and he finished out his career well with the Kings. You know what I'm saying? One of the best low post power forwards, a bully out there on the court, special player. You know what I'm saying? Um, the year prior, 2000, Jamal McGlure, one time All Star, but in that one year he was special, and he had a couple good years he had a couple good years for us when we were the Hornets, and put on for his country of Canada, was playing well, played solid, with the Heat and the Raptors as well. Then we want to go back. One of my favorite players, all-time favorite players. You know what I'm saying? I always think of the Raekwon line of, make him jump like Ross Strickland. But Ross Strickland, Kyrie Irving's godfather, was picked at pick 19 back in the 88 draft where Danny Manning went number one. You know what I'm saying? Ross Strickland is on plenty of lists if you go online of like best players to never be selected for an All-Star game, because he was an assist leader, he was All NBA, never got selected for All-Star game, which is crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Especially his years in Washington, he should have especially been selected as an All-Star in those years. But he enjoyed success in New York, he enjoyed in Portland, San Antonio. You know what I'm saying? Played a long time, and then most notably Washington is where he really took his level up to another, his game to another level. I got his Washington jersey. That's how much I'm a Ross Strickland fan. Like, dude was a dog, dude was a beast. Then John Paxson. John Paxson was one of the best clutch shooters of his day with the Bulls back in the day. Pick 19th. He was picked 19th in '83. Started out with the Spurs, and then he went to Chicago, and he turned into one of Michael Jordan's favorite teammates. So there's a wider range of possibilities of players that we could get at pick 19. At pick 26, the history isn't the same, but still I've got guys like Peyton Pritchard right now, sixth man of the year for those Celtics, one of the best scorers at his height. Taj Gibson, he might still be in the league as we know it. You know what I'm saying? Very reliable, consistent, pick and pop big, '09 class. All rookie first team. George Hill, '08 rookie. You know what I'm saying? George Hill, solid veteran point guard for many years, great shooter, good passer, good locker room guy. A guy who I talked about who I said he would have been an all-star if you put him in with today's NBA rules. But Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin was picked 26 back in '04. Kevin Martin was, a very unorthodox type of shooter, and yet he was a deadly scorer. And then another Sacramento King, Gerald Wallace. Gerald Wallace, known as Crash, he did his thing in Sacramento, and then he really blossomed, took his game to another level in Charlotte with the Bobcats. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get to play for the Hornets, but he was on the Bobcats. And he enjoyed, his best production there. And then I'm rocking a Harvard sweater right now, but my favorite college football team, as much as I've talked about LSU, is actually FSU. A little fun fact about me. But we got the greatest quarterback of school history, Charlie Ward. Yeah, you heard me right, Charlie Ward. But I do love Jabu. You know what I'm saying? Jabu 5 is my guy. Always. But Charlie Ward, right? Charlie Ward wasn't no star, but he was a very good role player, very steady point guard, and he was a valuable role player on that Knicks team in '99 that went to the finals against the Spurs in Tim Duncan's first finals. You know what I'm saying? They knocked off the Heat, they knocked off the Hawks, they knocked off the Pacers. Very, very difficult playoff run, but they did it. So I'm not with this trade, and as I said so politely, that you have to be blind, deaf, or dumb, or all three to think that we're gonna move Zion. But hey, someone's got to do it, right? Someone's got to write these articles. But if we do go forth and make this trade, it could be worse, right? Because you get 2 picks in this year's draft, and you might end up getting a player at 19 or 26 who's even better than the guys I've named. That is a big possibility. But 25, 7, and 5 does not grow on trees, y'all. You don't know how good you got it till it's gone. The grass is not greener on the other side. You know what I'm saying? To speak about that early part with Trey Murphy, it's like, you know what I'm saying, you got something good at home. Yeah, there needs to be, not saying there's not things that can't be worked out and ironed and, you know what I'm saying? But when you got something good at home, you don't gotta go be outside. You don't. Keep Zion. What are we doing with this idea? Why are we letting this go into fruition? I want to see a trade for Trey Murphy, and I damn sure don't want to see a trade for Zion. I don't want to see one for her, but of the three, if you ask me right now, I'm most at peace with letting Herb, you know what I'm saying, get traded or walk or anything like that. I don't want it to happen. I don't. I don't want it to happen. But if, you know what I'm saying, if that's the only option, then it's the only way. Now, this one, I saw this one a couple days ago, but I wanted to save this. This was a special one that I was like, I feel like maybe some of the younger viewers, they just don't know the impact. But should we bring back the point guard himself, Chris Paul? Man, oh man, one of my favorite players to this day. Man, 12-time All-Star, 5-time assist leader, 6-time steal leader, runner-up in MVP to Kobe in 2008, NBA 75 member, just every possible accomplishment you could have except a championship ring. And if only my guy had been able to get it in 2021, shout out to Giannis. But man, I wanted Chris Paul to get a ring so bad with the Suns. It seemed like that was his chance. You know what I'm saying? It would have been cool if he could have gotten it done with the Clippers or even the Rockets, right? They had opportunity. But once he got to OKC and later on Golden State, it was clear, okay, he's, I omitted the Suns because like the Suns actually were like were stable at that point. But when he got to OKC and Golden State and then to where, the Spurs, rebuilding, developing. This past year, Chris Paul averaged, and it's crazy to even say this, like to think about, like this is Chris Paul, man. One of the greatest point guards that we will ever see. And I've talked to some people who feel like Chris Paul is overrated. And I'm like, again, how many teachers did y'all? Okay, okay, let me not go there. How stupid are y'all? Like that's okay. That's what I'm gonna say. How stupid are y'all? For real? How dumb are you? Overrated? Name me another point guard who, for his career, at 6 foot, and that might be a very generous 6 foot, put up the numbers with the efficiency that Chris Paul did. Name me another point guard. Because the point guards that you're going to have to name someone like an Isaiah Thomas, a John Stockton, a Magic Johnson, right? The greatest of the greats you're going to have to name. Especially as a pure point guard, but also still, having to be that number one as a shot creator. Like, come on, man. Y'all bugging out here if you think Chris Paul overrated. But yeah, so the numbers are pretty modest. 9 points, 4 assists. 4 boards and 8 assists. But that's pretty valuable, like, coming off the bench, Like, having a Chris Paul off the bench at this stage of his career, he's kind of accepted, I'm not winning a ring, which, that hurts. I ain't gonna lie, that does hurt. And if I was Chris Paul, I'd want to win a ring, but teach his own. He probably feels at peace with where he's at right now in his life. Salute to him. But I feel like, and Chris, shout out to my guy, Chris Lambert. Now, if I'm going to shout out anybody, Chris Lambert, man, shout out to him. He wrote this article. He talked about, it'd be a perfect way to close things out, especially as he nears his 20th season, which I'm like, damn, I feel old. Like, I remember Chris Paul at Wake Forest. He was special. You know what I'm saying? It was special watching those 2 years of him. Granted, I was young, learning the game actively, but I was placed in front of the TV to watch a player like Chris Paul. Make no mistake. And I've seen Chris Paul play live. I saw him when he was on the Olympic team in 2008 and 2012. I saw him when he was with the Clippers. Have I seen him any other time? I don't think so. But I know them 3 times in particular. I've seen him play live. Special player to watch. Special player to see. You know what I'm saying? Be like a maestro out there. One of the smartest basketball minds that we will ever see. One of the most competitive players that we will ever see. You know what I'm saying? I remember he did an interview. It was in the Lakers series in 2011, and they first did an interview with Jarrett Jack, and I don't know if that pissed Chris Paul off even more. Of like, you gonna interview Jarrett Jack, my backup, over me? What? But he said he was like, I'd headbutt my mom if she was out there. And I remember my mom watching. Me and my mom were watching, and she was dying laughing. She was like, she's like, I like Chris Paul. I always like Chris Paul, but I love Chris Paul. She's like, I love that answer. And I'm like, okay, teach his own, mom, teach his own. But she was like, no, like that's the kind of competitive edge that you need to have out there, which I agree. Shout out to my mom. Y'all want to know where I get a lot of my love for the history and a lot of love? It's through my mom. My mom is a huge influence on that. You know what I'm saying? My mom knows ball. Shout out to my mom. But Chris Paul, you know what I'm saying, having seen him play live and having seen also too at this stage of his career as a mentor, right? Who did he mentor when he went over to OKC? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, current MVP, likely Finals MVP if things go OKC's way continuously. He's done. He's doing it with De'Aaron, and right now, and mind you, De'Aaron is like my age. You know what I'm saying? Me and De'Aaron are a graduating year apart. But Chris Paul, if we get a Jeremiah Fears, for instance, and this Chris Lambert talked about this, we get a Jeremiah Fears, or we're able to trade up to get a Dylan Harper or a VJ Edgecombe, just any of the young guards in this draft, even getting a guy like Caspers, or even getting a guy like Nolan Troyer. It serves you better to have a veteran like him to teach you more than anybody else. I love GTA, Mr. Alvarado, but the wisdom and the knowledge that Chris Paul can impart, it holds way more weight. Even more than someone like CJ, right? Chris Paul been playing longer than CJ and has had more success. So this move, I'm okay with. Now, granted, Chris Paul would have to take a pay cut because we only got about like 5.7 before the current with the apron and the mid-level exception. We only got like 5.7 mil, which is that's crazy. It's crazy, but we do have to figure out how we're gonna shed dead weight contractually. That'll be a big talking point this summer. Best believe there's gonna be a lot of videos that I do on that. You can count on me with that. But yeah, Chris Paul is still someone who can play at a high level, still someone who can contribute, and I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? Word to Peaches and Herb. Reunited, and it feels so good. I would love to see him retire with us, go out, you know what I'm saying, with the love of the fans, kind of getting that not redemption, because it's like, he got traded, you know what I'm saying? You can't really do too much when you're traded versus when you actively leave. But to see, the journey, right? To see what he's been on and see all the different stops he's made, it would make sense for him to come back home. It makes sense for him to come back to the organization that first believed in him. The organization that, he was rookie of the year for, nearly MVP for. It'd make all the sense in the world. So, yeah. My answer with this, yes. Everything else, hell no. Not a chance. Don't do it. Don't do it. Reconsider. Shout out to 3 Stacks. But yeah, them other three, no. Chris Paul though, I'm with that. I'm with that. You know what I'm saying? He can still play as an off the bench distributor. Doesn't turn over the ball much. Great floor general, one of the greatest of all time. But truly and really, when looking at the impact that he can have on the mentorship side, you cannot discount or discredit that enough. And I think about the young guards that we have there right now with, I mean, I guess you could throw DeJounte in that mix, but he's been in the league for, this will be his 10th year. But Antonio Reeves, who I talked about last video, Brandon Boston, Jordan Hawkins, Grand Theft Auto, Jose Alvarado. Let's throw DeJounte into there. Why not? That's a lot of guards that could really learn from a Chris Paul. It's a lot of guards. So, food for thought, something to consider. But I like this idea of bringing Chris Paul back. Everything else, no. Especially the cat trade, because I just don't see Washington agreeing to get fleeced like that, and I also don't feel like Phoenix should come out with that many players. But we'll see what happens. And then the Zion one, no, not a chance. I don't think that one's gonna happen, but who knows? But y'all with these articles, man. Y'all with these articles. Thank you for giving me content, because that's all I use it for. But just know that when I be reading your articles, I'll be like, what an idiot. Like Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers. Like, you really think that we would trade Zion for a Cam Johnson and a Nick Claxton? Both guys are good, don't get me wrong, but be real. Be real. This ain't even a trade that 2K would validate. Like, when you kind of tweak the sliders and you make it so you can make these crazy trades, even 2K will be like, bro, what you doing? Turn the game off. Go touch grass. So yeah. Those other trades, no. And I don't want us to get rid of Trey Murphy. I don't. So I want everybody in the conclusion of this video, pray, God, do not let Zion get traded under any circumstance. Do not let Trey get traded under any circumstance. Amen. Let the church say amen. Because, you know what I'm saying? Talent that has been built organically, that has been built from the ground up, you need to continue to see it bloom. You need to continue to allow it to grow. And then also, sometimes you need someone who can be good cop and bad cop, who's been around the game, who's like a coach out there on the court. Enter the all-time best player that we've had. Yeah. Oh, I said it. The all-time greatest player that we've ever had. By far. Okay? By far. So, bring Chris Paul back. Bring CP3 home. President Dumars, bring him home. Let him finish out his career, you know what I'm saying, with the team that first loved him. The team that first gave him a chance to show and prove to the world that he was a future Hall of Famer in the making and one of the greatest point guards that we will ever see pick up a basketball. But, hey, it's always fun to rant and ramble with y'all. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Tell a friend, tell a friend. That's the only way that this all grows. I appreciate the support. Like I said, I am going to utilize the comment section again. I just found a lot of stuff that I felt like y'all would be interested in with this video. But you know what I'm saying? Show love, show support with me. Follow me on the gram at Dylan_Bruton10. Make sure to follow Fan Arts on all social media to see all the amazing content and stuff that they're doing. And again, like, share, subscribe. It ain't that difficult, it ain't that easy. You know what I'm saying? It don't cost nothing. It ain't gonna break your finger. Nothing. I just want y'all to have more access to Pelicans basketball content, and that's what it's all about. Pelicans Daily. So I'll see y'all next time. Y'all stay blessed. Ciao.